This day is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states. Hello and welcome to This Day, a history podcast from Radiotopia. This day, May 9th, 1914, President Woodrow Wilson issues a presidential proclamation that officially establishes the first national Mother's Day holiday to celebrate American moms. The idea for a Mother's Day is credited by some to Julia Ward Howe in 1872 and by others to Anna Jarvis in 1907. We will get into the details of where the idea came from and focus in on this Anna Jarvis character and someone who kind of came to reject all that Mother's Day had become pretty quickly. Here, as always, Nicole Hemmer of Vanderbilt and Kellie Carter-Jackson of Wellesley. Hello there.
Hello, Jody.
Hey there.
Actually, we should say also joining us is Jody Avergan, who forgot to introduce himself at the beginning.
Did I say that? Whoops.
You didn't say my name is
on
Jody
this
Avergan.
Mother's Day, I really want to make space
Taking a
for
step
women.
back.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us take the lead here, Jody.
Whoops. I'm still getting used to the new name. It throws everything off. Should we get out of the way this cheeky notion people like to trot out that actually your kid's birthday should actually be Mother's Day because that's actually the most important day? But anyway, we could. Do you want to share opinions on Mother's Day as it currently stands now, or?
I mean, my mom used to say, you should call me on your birthday because I gave birth to you. And I was like, really? No, we're not doing that.
Nope.
I was like, you call me, okay?
Everyone celebrates their birthday on Mother's Day, and then all the mothers get their own personal Mother's Day on their kid's birthday.
Yeah.
We reverse it.
Sure.
That's very complicated.
I think it's fine. It's fine the way that it is.
Listen,
Mother's Day is fine.
I claim the entire month of May because it's Mother's Day, it's my birthday, it's also my wedding anniversary. So I get the whole month of May, I'm celebrating.
Yeah.
Good times.
Well, let's focus in on this Anna Jarvis character because she really does seem to be the force behind this idea and then takes a very interesting path in the wake of it actually becoming a sort of national phenomenon. But who is she? Who's Anna Jarvis? And more importantly, who was her mother?
It matters significantly. So Anna Jarvis is described a lot of different ways. Strong-willed, tenacious, also unsmiling, spinster. They come up with a lot of names for her over the course of her lifetime. She is the woman behind Mother's Day, as we'll talk about today. And her mother, Ann Jarvis, so Anna's mother, Ann, is really the inspiration for the holiday. And her mother, Ann, was super interested in organizing women and having a way to celebrate women and motherhood. She saw the division happening among families, particularly during the Civil War, and she was thinking about ways that she could bring families back together, to bring mothers together in what she called Mother's Friendship Day, that would link, former foes back together after the war. But then it was also tied to the rising progressive movements or reform movements of the late 19th century. Ann Jarvis had organized Mother's Day work clubs that were focused on things like sanitation and health at these different war encampments during the Civil War. Even before that, she was looking at ways to lower infant mortality rates. She had 13 children and only 4 survived to adulthood. So she was very interested in how that could stop. And so it is that example and that legacy that Anna Jarvis is trying to honor when she develops Mother's Day a few years after her mother dies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in the kind of early part of the 20th century, right? We have this sort of post-Civil War. The mother takes on all these causes. And, it's a little hard. There's just so much mythology around Anna Jarvis and her mother. And we'll get to some of the sort of crazier stories and maybe apocryphal stories. But if people went out of their way to describe the daughter, Anna, as you said, seldom smiling and a little fragile and cold, the mother, by all accounts, was lovable, a teacher, a sweet voice, a pleasing smile, and gracious. It is this interesting dynamic. There's a lot of
the apple fell very far from the tree.
Yeah. In part because Anna, the daughter, doesn't have kids of her own. Yeah. So this really is, when she thinks about motherhood, she really thinks up, right? She thinks about her mom. And that is a huge part of when we think about at least the original idea here. It is about honoring your mother as opposed to kind of mothers in general being celebrated.
Yeah.
Or
and
motherhood
her
in general.
mother.
I mean, that's clear. That's
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So her mother dies on May 9th, 1905, and the first Mother's Day is May 10th, 1908. Like, this is very, very much about marking the passing of her own mother.
And to get people to think about what it means to sort of not just honor mothers, but actually take like some quality of time, write your mother a letter, send your mother flowers, find something that will honor her memory, her life, her contributions. It's meant to be a time where you're actually really spending time with your mother, if that's possible.
Or even a memorial service kind of vibe, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Because again, it was about her mother who had died. So the white carnation becomes one of the symbols of Mother's Day because it's a symbol of mourning.
Yeah, so at the first Mother's Day, there's a memorial service in Philadelphia to honor all moms, but then Jarvis kind of makes it about her own mom and sends 500 white carnations to her late mother's church in West Virginia, and that's when that flower very early gets linked. It catches on pretty quick, huh, Kellie?
Yeah, it does. Carnations become the official flower of Mother's Day. If you grew up like I did in the Black church, every Mother's Day, you got a carnation when you walked in. You got a white one if your mother was still alive. You got a red one if your mother was still alive, and a white one if your mother was not. And it caught on in a way that businesses took note, right? Like, it becomes this huge thing where people are sending flowers, they're sending cards, they're, finding ways to capitalize on this moment and to make it like a holiday, really, a time where everyone sort of takes a break and stops to do something for their mother or in honor of their mother.
Just to give you a sense of how quickly it gets commercialized or co-opted, around 1912, so just a few years into this phenomenon, Jarvis, who has now quit her job and kind of made this her full-time thing, gives sort of advice on how to mark this moment and says, you should write a letter of praise or gratitude to your mother, send a gift with it or a flower or a carnation. No one is too poor or too busy to send a letter home on this day. Within 4 or 5 years, you have telephone companies who are now saying, hey, use our new technology to call home, right? And sort of trying to find a hook, an advertising hook there. And then by the early 1920s, you have retailers coming in, you have the whole sort of gift industry, the florist industry come in, to the point where, by all accounts, in 1923, Jarvis crashes the convention of the Associated Retail Confectioners in Philadelphia and accuses them of, quote, gouging the public. She says, I want to tell you that you are using a beautiful idea as a means of profiteering. As the founder of Mother's Day, I demand that it cease. Mother's Day was not intended to be a source of commercial profit.
I like it. It has a Jesus overthrowing the tables at the temple kind of vibe to it. Yeah.
It does. There's something about also like writing a handwritten letter. Of course, we don't do that anymore. What's a stamp? You know what I mean? But
what's handwriting?
But the idea of actually taking the time out to do something personal and individualized and not sending like a Hallmark card that's already been crafted for you and you just sign your name, like doing something that feels personal. And that actually requires a little bit of sacrifice, in terms of your time or in terms of your energy or efforts. Like, I kind of appreciate that. But at the same time as a mom, I'm all about that spa package. I'm all about
You're saying if you just got a letter and a carnation, you'd be a little like, what's,
I might be like
flipping the envelope over?
Where's the rest
of it?
Bath
and Body Works candle. Like, where is it? So, yeah, I'm a little biased.
Hey there, it's David Plotz, host of Slate's Political Gabfest, the longest-running politics podcast. It can be hard to know what news is worth your attention, which is why every week my co-hosts Emily Bazelon and John Dickerson and I find the most important stories of the week so you don't have to. We dig into everything from Trump's immigration policies to critical court cases and everything in between. We also keep some good humor while doing it.
Why is the Tic Tac shaped that way?
Listen to the Political Gabfest now and join us as we go even deeper on the daily news you're already following. That's Political Gabfest, wherever you get your podcasts.
So here's something that happens every year as it gets warmer. I put away my winter clothes, I take a look at my closet, and I think to myself, man, my rotation is pretty worn out. Same polos, same shorts, same lightweight pants as last year. So I have to buy a bunch of items to feel like I'm ready to embrace summer. Now, let me tell you about something that doesn't happen every year. Me getting compliments on the summer clothes that I purchased. But I am here to tell you, listener, that it has been happening ever since I refreshed my wardrobe with some items from Quince. Just last week on a taping of this show, Kellie said, "That's a really nice polo shirt." It is, and it's actually called a cotton silk polo sweater. It's got a nice little white trim, some great texture to the material. I've got these linen pants that are getting some compliments. They cost under $50, by the way. Same with the chore jacket I got. A friend of mine at the bar the other day reached over and did that little, "Ooh, this is nice" thing and felt the fabric. Listeners, this could be you. Quince's pieces are easy, elevated, and somehow make you feel more put together without even trying. Treat your closet to a little summer glow up with Quince. Go to quince.com/thisday for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/thisday for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/thisday. Tariffs, meme coins, Girl Scout cookies. What do these all have in common? Come on, folks. It's all about the money. Economics is everywhere and everything. It's fueling our lives, even where we least expect it. And look, if you listen to This Day, that means I know that you are interested in context and the hidden stories that help explain our world. So I recommend to you that you listen to Planet Money from NPR. The Planet Money is a different kind of world where the complex economy actually makes sense. Human stories instead of abstract theories. It is econ brought down to earth. For me, going all the way back to 2008 and the giant pool of money, where Planet Money first helped me understand the financial crisis, I have relied on this show. It is accessible, it is fun, it's surprising. It's one of those shows that when you listen to it, you kind of think to yourself, why isn't this the only show that I listen to? Another great thing I'll tell you about Planet Money, they are absolute pioneers in the shorter podcast. It's about 30 minutes. You'll learn a lot. You get in, get out, nice and accessible. So it's time to check it out. Tune in to Planet Money every week for entertaining stories and insights about how money shapes our world. These are stories that cannot be found anywhere else. Listen now to Planet Money from NPR.
There is also something that's like, as the founder of Mother's Day, there is a kind of possessiveness that does peek through a little bit in this moment. And speaking of possessiveness, the idea of where the apostrophe was in Mother's Day was actually something that was a big deal for Anna. You know, she thought about it as, you know, people were like, oh, should it be mothers, MOTHERS apostrophe, right? All of the mothers, day for all of the mothers, or should it be a singular possessive, so mother apostrophe S? And Anna was like, it's mother apostrophe S because it's for my mom.
She should have just started Anna Jarvis Memorial Day and seen if that took off, but at least it would have been, yeah. Yeah.
She was, ironically, a very savvy marketer by making it, more generic.
Now, and this, of course, is where so much of the sort of mythology comes in, because by all accounts, when she sort of came up with this idea of honoring mothers, it was in the spirit of mothers without the apostrophe. And there was like a day of service where actually more fortunate moms would help out less fortunate moms. So there was that kind of spirit of generosity in, by all accounts, a very sort of loving and warm woman. And then the daughter, for who knows what kind of reasons, we're not going to make this all psychological, but, really twists it and starts to say like, no, it's just about my mom. But again, the commercialization has taken off. It really spins out. That becomes the main dynamic. So now we're talking into the 20s and 30s. Jarvis is kind of on a crusade against her own creation in many ways. I mean, she's really fighting against the expansion of it. There's also to her credit, pushed to change it to Parents' Day in the 20s or in the 30s. And she's like, no, not all parents.
That's right.
Dads are mothers, too.
No, I know.
Are they, though, if you think about it? You'll get Father's Day later. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But there actually is, like, to continue psychologizing, in the 1940s, she is really fighting back against what Mother's Day had become. But she even goes so far as to criticize Eleanor Roosevelt, the First Lady, of exploiting the holiday because she's raising money in order to raise awareness and funds to combat maternal and infant mortality rates, which was the very thing that her mother, Anna Jarvis, was trying to combat through her own activism. And so it does feel like in that moment, like she's
doesn't make
lost
sense
the
to me.
plot.
It doesn't make sense to me that I get her not wanting it to become like about charities per se, but my goodness, like combating something like maternal and infant mortality rates, like who's against that? Like it just doesn't doesn't make sense. I think she got a little bit too lost in her own head and quite litigious about this. I mean, anybody she can sue, she's trying to sue. It just becomes a little bit out of control. Like I could see her being mad at maybe the telephone company or Macy's or something like that. But when it comes to people who are putting together charities to help other mothers, which is what her mother would have wanted, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So by 1945, there's a report in Newsweek that says she has 33 Mother's Day related lawsuits going at one time. And really, I mean, the story does take a bit of a sad turn because in the last decade of her life, I mean, she dies in the late 40s, but in the 40s, in the last 8-10 years of her life, she really does kind of deteriorate in terms of her health and her mental state. She's becoming even more frail. She's starting to lose her eyesight. And then she is placed somewhere in the mid-40s into the Marshall Square Sanitarium in Westchester, Pennsylvania. So she's admitted to a hospital. Now, here is the craziest, probably apocryphal, but potentially interesting conspiracy theory related to this. Some people said that it was the floral and greeting card industry that paid the bills in the final years of her life to keep her in the sanitarium. Is that a detail that's too good to be true? Or maybe...
It's clearly a conspiracy theory, and yet, I mean, they kind of owed her. They made so much money off of Mother's Day, but I love the idea that they're like, we got to keep her quiet. It's
remarkable. So she dies in November of 1948. She is buried next to her mother, sister, and brother in West Laurel Hill Cemetery in Pennsylvania. She never married, never had children, and there's one headline in the paper, her obituary, November 24th, 1948, and the headline is, Lonely Mother's Day founder dies.
That's wrong.
I hate everything about this.
That's wrong.
And I even want to read the first line of this obituary. Anna M. Jarvis, lonely spinster who founded Mother's Day and then fought vigorously but in vain against its commercialization, died today at 84, blind and penniless.
Damn.
Did the greeting card company write that?
That's pretty rough.
Mean.
That's
but
pretty mean.
I will note in this article, mothers is spelled with the apostrophe in the way that she would have wanted, the singular honoring of a single mother. So there you go.
She strikes back from the grave.
Oh, man. But
spinster.
Yeah, spinster.
In the first line. It's rough. Yeah. So obviously we started with where we are now today with Mother's Day. I don't know. Do people rail against the commercialization of Mother's Day in the way they do Christmas and other kind of holidays? Valentine's Day, yeah.
I don't really think so because it's like the commercialism is for your mom.
Yeah.
That seems better than all the other holidays.
I feel like you'd be hard pressed to find someone who was like, we're not doing anything for mothers,
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, huge potential, something like $15 billion maybe as all-in expense yearly from Americans on flowers and spa treatments and all that stuff. There's a little part of me that has always just sort of appreciated that Mother's Day is, I think the timing of it syncs nicely. I mean, in our family, like we have a tradition of Mother's Day weekend is when we go and buy all the new flowers and plants for our garden and our yard. Like it just syncs up nicely that you're buying flowers in the spring anyway. And it's just kind of like, buying activities to go outside or treat yourself as you come out of the winter. Like Whereas Valentine's Day has always felt like, man, we're doing this in the dead of winter. Like, this isn't the most.
We're shipping these flowers in from South America.
Exactly.
But Mother's Day is also typically around graduation, which is nice too.
Yes, exactly. Right. So that sort of syncs up with a lot of the other things that are happening in mid spring, I think.
And it's typically around Kellie's birthday and anniversary.
So that's nice.
It falls in the middle of Kellie May.
We celebrate all
Kellie
month. All month.
Exactly. All right. Well, we will leave it there. This was really fascinating. Nicole Hemmer, thanks to you as always.
Thank you, Jody.
And Kellie Carter-Jackson, thanks to you.
My pleasure.
Radiotopia.